Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Garden a Day with Maidenbrock Gardens, where we explore the world one garden at a time. Today is June 12th. When visiting today's garden, you might be tempted to yell, "Come out, you old rat!" But I suggest you refrain from ordering anyone around and instead convey your thoughts using polite, peaceful, garden-friendly language. So, why might you be tempted to yell, "Come out, you old rat"? Why? It's because you are visiting the King's Garden and doing your best Ethan Allen impression at Fort Ticonderoga at the southern tip of Lake Champlain in New York. If you are an American listening to this episode, you might remember something about Fort Ticonderoga, but maybe you just can't place it. You might remember it has something to do with the early part of the American Revolution, and you might even remember Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys. Fort Ticonderoga definitely gets mentioned in history class, but the capture of the fort in 1775 often gets overshadowed by the events that came later in the Revolutionary War. Fort Ticonderoga has been a tourist destination since 1820, but it was built between 1755 and 1758 by the French at a site of strategic importance during the French and Indian War. The British controlled the fort at the start of the Revolutionary War, and this is when the Green Mountain Boys, led by Ethan Allen, and the state militia, led by Benedict Arnold. This was before, you know what he did. Anyway, the Americans took the fort on May 10th, 1775, and this is when Ethan Allen entered the officers' quarters and called to the commander, Delaplace, to "Come out, you old rat." Allen also later found the officers' stash of 90 gallons of rum in the cellar under the officers' quarters. He later wrote to the treasurer of Connecticut asking him to pay Captain Delaplace for the rum, which Allen said had, quote, "been greatly wanted for the refreshment of the fatigued soldiery," end quote. The Americans held the fort until June of 1777, when British General Burgoyne's troops held the high ground, causing the Americans to withdraw from the fort. The British then abandoned the fort 4 years later in 1781, after they failed to gain control of the Hudson Valley. After the war, the fort's lands became the property of the state of New York. In 1803, New York donated the property to Columbia University and Union College, and in 1820, the colleges sold the fort to horticulturalist William Pell. Pell used the fort as a summer retreat, eventually opening it up for tourists. His great-grandson, Stephen Pell, spearheaded the restoration of Fort Ticonderoga and founded the Fort Ticonderoga Association that still owns and maintains the fort today. In 1921, Sarah Pell undertook the task of reconstructing the gardens. She hired Marion Kruger Coffin to design the landscape. In 1995, the association restored the gardens and they are open today for public visits. The garden spans 6 acres. The name King's Garden is a bit misleading. The ornamental gardens that visitors see today were not there when the French built the fort, nor were they there when the British occupied the fort. The French, the British, and the American patriots did garden at the fort, but theirs was for practical purposes. They grew vegetables to eat. The French did call their vegetable garden the King's Garden, and the Pells decided to keep the name. The Pells added the walled garden during Sarah Pell's reconstruction of the garden in the 1920s. Brick-paved pathways lead visitors through the old-fashioned garden with heritage flowers that pay homage to the fort's colonial and revolutionary history. There are flowers grown for making homemade dyes, as well as a significant collection of medicinal and culinary herbs. Tours of the garden are available 2 times a day, Tuesday through Sunday. The Pells also added an orchard in 1911, and visitors are invited to pick apples between August and October. The garden is open from May to October from 9:30 to 5 daily. Well, That's about it for today's garden visit. Join me here tomorrow to find out where we're going next. Thank you for listening today and every day. If all goes well, I'll be right back here tomorrow. See you then.